Everything on this counter came from this bag of flour. And actually, this isn't even including the pizza dough and the frozen pancakes I already have in the freezer. That's right, the bread, the tortillas, the English muffins, and every drop of gravy a fall casserole needs. I'm gonna make all of it in front of you with the price of every item on the screen. And there's a total at the end that I promise you will change how you see the baking aisle. Less than $7. But that's not why I filmed this today. I filmed this today because of this. I need you to listen to what the government quietly confirmed less than 2 weeks ago. As of summer 2026, the United States officially has the smallest American wheat crop since 1970. Yes, that is a verified stat, not a rumor. In fact, I encourage you to lay your own eyes on it. It's in the USDA's July 2026 World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate, also known as the WSADE report. And it's right on page 1 of the executive summary, right under the wheat heading, and specifically the 4th sentence. But y'all, here's the part that nobody's telling you, because the price on the shelf hasn't moved yet. And you want to know why? It's because there's always a delay between a report like this and the day that the price finally hits your bag of flour. The thing is that I can show you exactly how long, because that gap is your window. And y'all, that gap is open right now, and this video is exactly what I'm doing with it. Now, you might recognize these bags, because last week over 300,000 of you watched me compare 8 different flour brands. And the number one question in the comment section was, okay, Cass, I'm tracking, but now what do I actually do with them? Girl, as always, I've gotcha. This is that video. And if you watched last week, I'm about to do something that may look like I'm contradicting everything I said in that video, but stay with me. It all makes sense. Now remember, I keep the same rules as always, so I'm going to show you the reports on the screen, along with my actual photographs from the grocery stores in my area, and nothing gets recommended until it gets cooked in this kitchen. So first up, we've got to frame some things with facts, because this year's harvest didn't happen in a vacuum. Because the truth is, American wheat acreage has been shrinking for decades. And well, that's because farmers have shifted their crops into corn and soybeans, which offer better returns. So then that is our baseline, and then 2026 piled on top of that. And then on top of that were persistent droughts across the southern plains. But the weather didn't stop there, because then we also had unusually hot and dry conditions during key growing months. And then all of that was combined with higher abandonment from winter wheat fields. So then of course those abandoned fields means that even less made it to harvest. So as you read that USDA report, you'll see that it wasn't even just the USDA was reporting fewer planted acres, it was that fewer acres even survive the season. Okay, so that's the first fact that we're going to frame this in. Are you ready for the second? So a number that I've started to watch for since I read so many of these reports isn't just like the number or the amount of wheat we grow, but it is what is left over after everything else is spoken for. The USDA now projects U.S. wheat ending stocks at 722 million bushels, which is about 22% below a year ago. And y'all, 22% less of anything is not insignificant. That's very frank in telling us that we have 22% left of our reserve stock that is meant to absorb a bad harvest or supply shock. That's exactly what we need to know, because when cushions get thinner, prices don't ask permission, they react. Now, case in point, let me jog your memory back to 2022. Because in the early months of 2022, wheat prices had actually exploded, but you didn't see flour doubling or tripling on grocery store shelves. And sweetheart, it's not because they were trying to do you any favors, it's because they were still selling the inventory that they had purchased weeks or months earlier. By the time most shoppers started to notice that flour was getting more expensive, the commodity market had already made its move. Now, with those 3 facts and the report that just came out, are you starting to connect the dots? So prices haven't shifted yet, but we are definitely in the mechanism. So honey, here's what you need to know. The flour on your store shelves was bought by the mills months ago at now old prices. Yes, old prices, because mills sell to brands on contracts. And these contracts, they vary in their duration. Sometimes they're just months to months, maybe they're seasonal, sometimes annually. And what used to be the norm of locking in prices for years at a time, well, you're seeing that less and less. So what happens is that you're normally burning through old price inventory before the new reality hits the store shelves. And I share this so that you know the window is real, the report is public, and the lag, it's documented. Because darling, this is it. People who act during a lag pay old prices for a new reality. And the people who wait, they're gonna pay whatever fall says. Okay, yeah, so like that's the whole secret. And it's not that it was ever hidden, it's just that no one ever slowed down enough to show you. Oh, now hold on just a bit, because I feel like I need to be clear about what I am not saying. I am not telling you to clear a store shelf. I also am not saying that wheat is running out. I'm just putting on your radar that the price of a very boring staple is likely stepping up once this fall. And I'm from a line of women, we're buying 6 months of something that you already use, that is the key, at today's prices. That's not panic. My Nana didn't call that prepping. We wouldn't think she was prepping. She just called it Tuesday. Okay, so now you're wondering, oh, what do I buy? And that's why last week's video had to come first. Because stocking up on the wrong flour is worse than not stocking up at all. And you know from last week the two that tied on first place and the one that got second based on ingredients, ownership, and baking. So that's why those brands are the buy list. But here's where I may be sending mixed messages. Because the thing that I'm stocking up the most of isn't flour at all. And to be fair, if you listen to last week's video all the way through, I mentioned this part. But I'm gonna go ahead and repeat it here because it's that important. And it's that white flour keeps because it's been stripped of all the parts that make it spoil. But whole grains keep because they were never opened up in the first place. Which is different from whole wheat flour, which goes rancid in months. But sealed containers and jars of wheat berries will keep for 25 years. But y'all, the pro kitchen move is this: flour for now, berries for later. And once you know how things store, that's also your indication on how much of it you should get. And so that's why in my house, when I'm stocking up on flour, I'm not doing it in such a way that I'm buying more than what we could reasonably get through in the next 4 to 6 months. But again, that's why I'm using the two-pronged approach, because the bags of flour are going to ride out this price hike. But the berries, girl, they opt you out entirely. So a lot of you that recently found me already bake, and in fact, you've been milling your own flour longer than I have. But for everyone else, here's like 30 seconds of basics for you. So for your bread workhorse, you want to go with hard red winter. The protein on this can vary anywhere between 11 to 12.5%, but this would be the berry that I prioritize. And then also, this is the variety that was hit the hardest. Now, my second choice would be hard white if your family fights you for whole wheat, but then you're also going to need some soft white for your pastry and your biscuit lane, and that stores just as long. Now, if you're buying for protein, you want to go with the number on the panel, not on the front of the bag. And we learned last week how the front tells you. Now, this next one is for my pasta people. All-purpose handles pasta just fine. You just want to make sure you rest the dough. And then after that, just roll it thin. You don't even need a 00 bag. Now, you know this, but your neighbors don't, so consider yourself deputized. You want to weigh, not scoop, especially for your fresh milled. And then also, the fridge is where whole wheat survives, and the freezer is where it lasts. And then lastly, if your flour ever smells like crayons, girl, it's gone. That's the germ oil. It's not your recipe. Okay, so we have our whole plan today, which is a 5-pound bag of King Arthur flour for $6.19. And I'm going to show you what one of these bags turns into, and then you can decide whether $6.19 is spending or saving. Okay, so first let's set up some ground rules so that you know that I'm trying to be honest with the math. So first this, a 5-pound bag of flour is 18 cups, and at $6.19, that is roughly 34 cents a cup. So I'm pricing every recipe against this bag and then the version that I actually buy at the store. And yes, I'm taking you to the grocery store where I'll either show you a picture or a video of this week's prices. Okay, so let's start off with sandwich bread. I'm just looking down at my notes. So I use 7 cups of flour, which would be equivalent to $2.41 worth of flour. Wait, the math is real because I just don't use flour, right? So there's yeast, there's a little bit of salt and oil. And so I'm estimating like 60 cents of all of that. And so that brings our total up to $3. So $3 for 2 loaves is $1.50 each. But at the grocery store, the same loaf is going anywhere for $3 to $6. So that's a savings of 65 to 75%. And on taste, of course, there is no debate on which tastes better. Now, if you're anything like me, when I'm turning on my oven, I'm gonna bake more than 1 loaf. So I just wanna share this tip. I would recommend slicing and then freezing the other loaves that you're not gonna eat that week. Because once it's sliced, you can pull it out of the freezer. It can go directly into the toaster. You can pull out exactly what you need for a sandwich. Because y'all, I don't bake bread as a hobby. I, in fact, need this to be sustainable. So next up, we have flour tortillas. Oh my goodness, homemade, they are so good. So I use roughly 2 cups of flour for, that would be 69 cents, plus a little bit of oil and salt. So that's another 80 cents. And that usually yields me, depending on, they're made by hand. So it's like 8 to 10. Now at the store, an 8-pack is anywhere between $3 to $4. So y'all, we've just saved between 75 and 80%. Think about that, 80 cents for 10 tortillas in just about 12 minutes using 4 ingredients. The store version is full of dough conditioners and seed oils that you don't want. So if tortillas are in your cart weekly, then this line item pays for the bag in a month. Now here's another pro tip. As you make your tortillas, stack them with parchment paper in between and then freeze. Also, they thaw in 30 seconds on a warm skillet, softer than any bag ever was. If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog BecomingAFarmGirl.com. And I'm here to help you shop what's on sale, in season, and better yet, already on your shelf. Okay, so now let's talk my favorite Friday night rescue, pizza. So I normally make 2 crusts, which is about 3 cups of flour. So when I did the math, that price comes to $1.03. But of course, you also need like your yeast and oil. And so I'm accounting $1.25 for that. Now, I'm not even going to compare this to like pizza that you could have delivered because, oh my gosh. Like medium pizzas in my neck of the woods, like for like Pizza Hut, is going for almost $20. So instead, I'm going to compare this to take and bake pizzas that you'll find at the grocery store, which range like for your basic ones, because frozen pizza prices are crazy too, like $14, but anyways, I'm comparing them to like the generic brands that you can still get for around $7 to $9, which that's just wild for me because even just with frozen pizzas, a family of 3 or 4, especially if you have like, tweens or teenagers, could be paying $30 still for frozen pizza. So yeah, y'all, that price cannot be beat, and the dough can be made ahead of time. Oh, let me clarify that, because I mean like ahead of time, you can make it 2 to 3 days in advance and then hold it in the fridge, but you can also put it in the freezer, well, for months. And I actually do like doing it that way, like making it 2 or 3 days earlier, because a cold ferment, it just makes the dough even that much better. I'm telling y'all, once you start making these at home, Thomas doesn't have anything on you when it comes to making your own English muffins. Because I'm telling you, homemade English muffins actually have taste. Whereas the store kind, like, they're just bland and like you have to like smother and cover them in something because like the flavor payoff, it just isn't there. So when I make a batch of English muffins, because I do like making them to like, have at least through the week. So that will use 2 cups of flour, which will cost me 69 cents. And then sometimes I'll toss in my little pantry bit. So that might cost me 85 cents. But on most occasions, I'm making about 7 to 8. And remember, I'm shaping these by hand. That's why it's not exact all the time. But at the store, they're always going to come in a pack of 6, usually between $4 to $5. So that would mean that they're between 70 to 83 cents each, which brings the homemade version to an 85% savings. So in other words, you can pay 11 cents when you make your English muffins at home, or about 75 cents when you buy them from the store. And like, I don't know if you knew this, but English muffins actually don't go in the oven. They cook right on the stove. And I'm only saying that because when I started making them years ago, I didn't realize, I don't know, I just had this assumption that you had to be a baker to make English muffins, and that's not true at all. They cook on a dry skillet that's low and slow. So maybe that's the boost you need to start making your own English muffins, because there's no baking required. But let me go ahead and add this. Always split them with a fork, never a knife, because a fork is going to tear the nooks and crannies instead of just flattening them like a knife. And you need those nooks and crannies because that is precisely where the butter goes. The store version needs dough conditioners to fake what a fork does for free. Okay, y'all, so before we move on to the next item in this list, I want to show you the move that makes this faster than the store. Because for some of us, and this was me included, the objection isn't always price, it's time, right? It's like, how am I going to find the time to do this? Well, this is my answer to it. So what I do is create a base mix, and some of y'all have already seen it. And I broke down the whole simple mix in my 1 mix 7 breads video. So from this vantage point, it doesn't matter what I'm making. Once I have this mix, it does it all. And I love doing this because when you build it, you know every ingredient, and it literally costs pennies on the dollar. So before you ask about quantities, I'm gonna save you from doing all the math. The recipe is a free download, it's linked below, and yes, it's scalable. And that's why I love this mix, because it easily adapts. There's a column for feeding 1 person all the way up into 6 with every size in between. So you're gonna wanna print that, tape it inside your cupboard door, and then just be done. Something else I enjoy making are my own breakfast mixes. So this is things for like my pancakes, my waffles, my breakfast muffins. And a batch of all that will cost me $2 to $3. So I'm talking about like 6 like large size each, versus if I were to buy that at the store and it's like, oh my goodness, this is frozen flour, right? Like they're going for like 10 to 14 bucks a box, right? Like 8 little waffles that don't fill you up, or a 4-pack of muffins, or pancakes that are in cute shapes but don't fill you up. And the hack is that you want to batch them on Sunday, freeze, and then toast them all week. So as much as you love walking down the freezer aisle at the grocery store, make it at your house for 1/5 of the price. Now this category might be my favorite, y'all. Biscuits and dumplings. Biscuits and dumplings. So my own mix portion is about 70 cents, and my biscuits are huge. I'm talking about making like 8 of them, and like they're not grands. Like you see them advertised at the store. No. Like these are biscuits that stick to your ribs. Oh my goodness, they're flaky, they are layered. And so that is the price versus, have you seen the exploding can like biscuit prices, y'all? Even the generic brands, you're talking about $3 to $4. And I don't know, maybe if you're a family of 2, you could get away with that. But I know like my husband could eat 4 of those. And so like I could have 2, but even then, like it might just be enough? Again, but like for that price versus I make our own like homemade biscuits. And when I make those, he's like, babe, whoa, like three's the max. Or if I don't even want to roll them out and shape them, I'll just make drop biscuits. Just remember to always use cold butter. Cold butter gives you lift. Warm butter gives you sadness. Now, this last one is where I use my flour hands down most often. And that's because I make all of my roux, my gravies, my cream-based soups with flour. One, it's quick. Two, you're already making it in the pan that whatever else is in. And three, let me tell you, once you have had a homemade gravy or your roux or your cream bases, there is nothing you can buy at the store. A, like for those prices, and B, for the taste. And again, I want to point out that this is using flour in a way that is not baking. And most of the time when I'm making, my roux and my gravies, I'm only using like 3 tablespoons of flour, which is just at about 6 cents. Now I am adding a little fat or cream, so that could put me anywhere between like 75 cents, maybe upwards of $1, especially like if it's heavy cream. But sometimes for the fat, y'all, like I'm just reusing my bacon grease. But still, I'm talking about maybe just over $1. And you know that when you buy any of those products at the store, you're spending triple that. And I hope you're not buying those gravy packets, which are just pre-portioned flour with a little bit of spices that you already own, and you've still got to bring your own fat and milk. Because y'all, knowing how to make your own gravies and your cream soups, like that can replace an entire center aisle. I mean, think about every casserole that requires some type of like cream of, right? Whether it's cream of mushroom or onion, broccoli. That's just flour, fat, and milk with a shelf-stable markup at 100%. No thanks, I'll bring my own full-fat milk and butter. And y'all, homemade gravies aren't scary to make. You just gotta remember equal parts fat and flour, and then give things about 2 minutes to cook out the raw taste. After that, whisk in your milk, and that's the only ratio that you've gotta remember. And that right there will scale you from one gravy boat to a full-blown Thanksgiving. You're welcome. All right, so that's just the iceberg of what you can get for $6.19. And actually cheaper than this if you go generic or buy in bulk. But no matter what you use, that's a 5 to 6 time return on one item. And newsflash, there is no other item in the grocery store that does that. And that, not fear, not headlines, is why I'm making sure that I'm stocking flour before fall. The window we're in right now makes it timely, and the math makes it right. Now I do want to tell you something because a lot of you are new and you keep asking for a video where we go deeper. Well, everything you watch me do alone is what we do together inside the Dinner Stun Dispatch. It's where this channel becomes a room that you are invited to in real time instead of just a broadcast. That's why we get on Zoom and we do these workshops together and we cook in real time. Yes, questions get answered on the spot and you leave with a box checked for your kitchen. We organize our pantries and our cupboards together. We strategically make your grocery list. We design meals that fit your diet and your people and your budget. It's where all of my dinner domino meal sequences live. It's the full system, not the highlights. Now the download from today, the scalable bread list, is linked below and it's free. But if you're a grocery geek and you want support around this thing, the dispatch is where we're at. The link's right under the video and I would love for you to come say hi at the next workshop. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the last 2 flour videos together because they're kind of like telling the same thing. Because last week the product quietly changed and nobody told you. So you learned to read the bag. And now this week the supply has quietly changed and nobody's told you, but you've learned how to read the window. But it's really the same skill because you want to see the change before it's priced in. Because y'all, the people who get hurt at a fall price step up with flour or anything else are the ones who find out at the register. But you and I now know about 2.5 months early. And honestly, I just rather you buy 2 bags calmly in July than, a cart full of panic in October. And here's also the thing, none of the conversation that we've had just now would even impress my grandmother. And I'm talking about a full bin of flour before winter, bread that cost pennies, or gravy that never came from a jar. Like, we're not discovering anything, we're just remembering it with receipts. 3 quick things before I let you go. Number 1, if you're new here since the flour video, this is what we do here. I like taking ordinary grocery things, reports, panels, and then cook out the answer. So you're gonna wanna subscribe if you want that in your corner. Number 2, I want you to comment what flour is going for in your store. And if you could, like your area, this isn't just like to comment, it truly is because, like, 1, this community is just amazing. And so I hope that it will be beneficial that as people are watching this video, and there seriously are folks that like aren't sure what a good price is. And so if you have that kind of information, I mean, really, let's continue to like work together and truly have this be a repository of information. I am telling y'all, The comments section on our videos, it is a whole education, sometimes better than the video. But if you comment that, can you include the brand, the size, and the price? And then the cool thing is that as this video ages, we'll actually have an archive of today's prices. Cause I'm gonna come back here and quote myself in October. Oh, and I'm also working on a bread aisle video where I take 7 loaves, so every label, and y'all, only one of them passes. That one's coming up, so make sure your notifications are current. And to get more Grocery Geek information, click the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.